All right, what's going on, guys? How are ya? I think I'm doing this right. Let's see here. Do a little setting up. Am I doing it right here? Live now. All right. Hey, what's going on? Thank you for logging on. All right, let's see. I'm doing my best here. I'm trying to get some technical difficulties out of the way so I could hang out with you guys. Hold on just a few seconds and then I'll be with you very, very shortly. All right, live streaming situation here. Gotta go to youtube.com. All right. My channel. All right. Good. All right. All right. Silence that. Okay. All right. I think I'm set. All right. What's going on, guys? Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure this thing out. I have an old MacBook Pro from 2012 that I realized last second that I couldn't stream on it because it was so old. That was a huge problem, so I had to plug in my iPhone really quick, but I realized that my iPhone was dying, so I had to plug it in and do a thing. Anyway, you guys don't want to hear about that. All right, so welcome, and today you get to hang out with me and I get to hang out with you. What a pleasure. And right now, I want to take this time to say thank you, first of all, and I hope you guys are staying home and staying safe. And I want to use this time to answer all the questions that you may had previously on my communities channel. I don't really like this live stuff. I was kind of nervous about it to do it in the first place, but I was running out of videos to post because I can't get to the dojo and there's no training partners and everything's on lockdown. So I felt this would be a nice way for me to talk to you guys and answer your questions and whatnot. So, here we go. Let's look at the chat first. All right, Fernando, hi. Grady, what's going on? Zachary, what are your thoughts on Krav Maga combined with Judo? That's a very good question. I think Krav Maga is like a lot of other traditional martial arts. And, there's a place for all martial arts for all people, right? It really depends on who you're trying to use these martial arts against. Now, you're trying to go against a trained martial artist, a trained fighter, or you're simply learning how to defend yourself, right? And the person applying a lot of these techniques in these martial arts, that's really sort of taken out of context too. Right? If you're a big, strong, super athlete, you might not even need martial arts to protect yourself, right? But if you're sort of smaller, not so athletic, and you're the type of person that you're not so confident in defending yourself, and a lot of these martial arts can sort of give you hope and idea. You asked about a combination with judo, and I think, yeah, it'll be a great idea to combine any martial arts that's striking based with grappling based, because then you have the striking aspect of it, the grappling aspect of it, and it sort of forms this natural synergy. My biggest theory on applying judo in a self-defense setting is you have to have basic striking knowledge in order to maximize your judo. Right? If you could close that distance and then control the other person, then you could really apply your judo. And it's a huge advantage. When you guys are all locked up and scrambling for position, the person who knows judo is going to be able to slam that other person on the floor head first. Now, if you have no striking knowledge, and if you're trying to fight someone that's a skilled striker, that person might pop you before you even put two hands on the person, right? So that's something to consider. All right, is that a mustache, Carlos Kirchner? Yes, I've been kind of sort of slacking off on the grooming. It's so nice to see you and hear from you, Carlos. Carlos is, man, that guy is an inspiration. He was at my dojo for many years and we still keep in touch. He's in California. He's working for Apple or Google or one of those guys. And great seeing you. Thank you for tuning in, Carlos. A lot of respect for you. Okay, thanks to you too. Hey, where's your dojo located? It's in Manhattan. Oh, wow, these questions are rolling in now. What are good drills to increase speed and power for the hips and throws? I would say hand cleans, any sort of explosive movement. Deadlifts are good. If you don't have a lot of experience in the gym, then simply doing bodyweight squats and plyometric exercises where you're using explosive movements, I think those are very good. All right. Asking first before you jump him, Walter. Okay, should I do wrestling in high school? I've never done it before. Absolutely. Wrestling is an amazing sport. Actually, I shouldn't say absolutely because I don't know who you are, what your background is, and people always ask me like, hey, should I do this or should I do that or what should I do with training? And it would be unfair for me to give advice without having the full picture, right? What are your athletic aptitudes? Do you lift, run? Are you an athlete? What do you want to achieve, right? If you want to be a grappler and if you want to get in good shape and you want to learn discipline and build character, then wrestling's a great sport for you, right? Go for it. All right, any good schools that teach both judo and jiu-jitsu in Manhattan? Yeah, Kano martial arts, my second martial arts. We teach jiu-jitsu, judo, everything, right? Well, not everything, but you get it. All right, hi Shintaro, what was your worst injury in judo? Would you recommend a 33-year-old to start judo with nagging knee pain from a meniscus removal from surgery a year ago? Great question. One of my worst injuries, I think, was a concussion. And it wasn't one of those concussions where I was, knocked out for, several minutes or whatever it is. But I hit my head pretty hard, and those concussions are cumulative, right? And I had maybe 3 or 4. And after a while, I lived my life in a daze, and it really took me out of life, right? Because I like to read and, do stuff that's outside of judo that requires my mind, right? I'm in school right now. And when you get concussed, you can't do a lot of these things because you have a headache, your ears are ringing. It was pretty devastating. If you want to talk about injuries, I got a lot of them. Slipped a disc in my neck. I have cauliflower ear if you consider that an injury. Dislocated both shoulders, tore my pec, tore my labrum, elbow dislocations, meniscus, knee. I don't want to go into all of it, but it's sort of, I don't want to say it's a side effect of judo, but judo is very taxing on the body because it's a very explosive sport. And so, yeah, if you want to get into judo, meniscus removal, that's going to be a tough one because you have to have some rotational abilities in your leg and you have to turn and twist off your legs and you're going to carry some load on your back and people are going to be chopping at your knees. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but if you find a good instructor who cares about you and who protects you and takes you step by step, then I would say go for it, right? But you have to find the right school. That's always the key, finding the right school with the right instructor. All right, what are some judo moves that work well for a soldier in full gear body and helmet? That's a good question. I think any sort of judo technique would really work, but again, it's always about context, right? What is your opposition doing? Who are you applying these techniques for? If you have a gun and if you're a soldier, why not use the gun, right? If you're in armed combat, so that's a tricky one. But let's just say hypothetical, your weapon's gone, their weapon's gone, you guys are both soldiers and you have backpacks on, just grab them and throw them, right? It's just sort of a judo philosophy. So I hope that was helpful. Probably not. How much no-gi do you practice? That's a good question, Michael. I used to do a lot because I wrestled in high school and college, and it was a big part of my life, wrestling. Even after college, I went to the New York Athletic Club to, wrestle with the guys downstairs on the U.S. team. My best friend in college was USA team. He took 4th at World Team Trials, and so I would train with him wrestling, and he would come to judo and train with me judo. So I did a lot of no-gi stuff, and maybe you're referring to jiu-jitsu or something. In Brazilian jiu-jitsu, grappling sport, not as much, but I done enough, right? Great question. Try any judo moves. Oh man, so many questions. Any advice how to get back in judo after the lockdown, being back in the dojo? Yeah, that's one of those things that I have no clue how things are going to play out. And people are asking me, how should we reopen our dojos and how should we, take it after the pandemic? I just don't know. Listen to Dr. Fauci. He's a very interesting guy. I think he's legit. I think he's real. So just listen to whatever he says and just go with the guidelines there, right? What are your thoughts on learning judo with the judo dummy? That's another good question. I don't use a judo dummy. Judo dummies, can't really grip fight in context and there's a lot of that stuff. So I don't really recommend it. It takes up a ton of space also. And I just think judo is irreplaceable. You need 2 good people who care about each other and to just I care about you, you care about me, let's drill, right? And there's a certain element that's cooperative. And then after said cooperative drills, then you have to apply force and accelerate those movements and then do it on someone that's not cooperating, right? In a combative manner, in sort of a competitive setting or randori. So I don't think a dummy can replicate any of those things. And I just think it takes up too much space. So a no go on the dummy. But God bless you if you want to use a dummy. All right, hi coach. Hey, what's going on? You're doing fine, Shintaro. Please do a video on throwing drills with a throwing dummy. I'm gonna pass on that one. I'm sorry. I don't want to buy a judo dummy just to do a video. Is Kagato Jime worth learning for judo? That's one of those questions. Is any technique worth learning for judo? Yes, if it fits your judo system, right? If you have one technique and it complements well with another, and those things could work synergistically together, then yes, learn it, right? But yeah, there's a lot that goes into learning technique. Should I learn Taitoshi, or am I capable of learning Harai? Yes, you're capable of learning any technique, but it's all about context for me. Context is the most important thing that's overseen in the landscape of judo instruction today. And you have to look at your judo style and your methodology and say, hey, these are the techniques, these are the positions I know, and these are the reasons how I get from position to position, and these are the techniques that fit into my overall system, right? And I love talking about the judo system because it's sort of overlooked. People learn judo by learning Taiyo, Ochi, Osoto, Ippon, Senagi, and that's it. But there's one-handed judo, taking first point of contact, fighting for advantageous position, knowing those positions, right? What if you're losing? How can you get out of that position? How can you bail and transition to Newaza? Do you have that skill set, right? And when you're looking at bailing out into the different techniques, you don't want to constantly do the same bailout techniques over and over because people can capitalize and see ahead. Every time I'm dominant, this person goes drop Seonagi, attack a loop choke right off of that, and you can be timed, right? So you want to do a different bailout attack every single time. All these different ideas have to come together. So should you learn that choke? Yes, but really learn how it integrates with your judo system. All right, ¿Cómo estás, maestro? ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien. Johnny MMA, Danny Leonard, another one of my favorite people. I love you too, man. Would a martial artist with no fight experience beat an ordinary person that has fight experience? Or would it be the other way around? It's all context, all context. You could take a 9-year-old kid who's done martial arts for 5 years and put him up against an adult who's very strong and athletic. Kid's not going to beat that adult, right? There's limitations, there's physical limitations. There's no such thing as like, oh, I've done judo for this many years and I'm going to take this massive gorilla and just take him off their feet by attacking grips. There's physical limitations. There's just too many contexts, right? Am I aware? That's another thing. Am I aware? Can this person beat me up? It's like, okay, am I waiting for the train on the subway platform, eating a sandwich, listening to my iPod, and I don't see him coming and he sucker punches me in the side of the head? I'm not going to win that fight. No way. So it's really all about the type of, there's just too many variables to say, always, right? That's why weight is a huge one. I see these people on YouTube saying, oh, jiu-jitsu versus Muay Thai, or wrestling versus sumo, or whatever it is. And then sometimes you see these massive differentials in weight, right? Weight class matters. Weight class matters. That's why there's weight classes in every single combat sport, right? Well, not every single, maybe Mongolian wrestling and sumo, there are exceptions. But any sort of regulated combat sports, there's weight regulations, right? So that's a question that I can't really answer. It also depends on what martial arts art that person does, right? Yeah, there's just too many things to say about that. So, thank you for the question. I hope I was able to give you a little bit of insight. Moving on, full salute. God bless you. Take care, stay safe. Thank you. Hope you stay safe too. How do you train old school judo with leg grabs in your dojo? Great question. I like that. Sometimes, we have 3 mat areas in competition, sort of randori mat areas. And I would say, okay, last mat in the corner over there, you guys could do leg grabs if both parties agree. This mat, just regular randori. First mat, regular randori. Things of that nature, right? So then that way, if you want to do leg grabs, you can go to the far end of the mat. And, I don't publicly say this to, in a setting where there's a lot of younger belts like this, because I don't want everyone just going back there and just flying into each other's legs, but two people who are very well-rounded, who may have experience in wrestling or sambo or whatever leg grab techniques that are there, or people who experienced judo 8-10 years ago when leg grabs were prevalent. Those people can go to the back and then, shooting on each other's legs and do all those things, do old school judo, right? Or the martial art side of judo, and I'm completely okay with it. All right, so that's how I sort of, do that. Or sometimes Danny Leonard, he was on this thing, he was competing in the Pan American Sambo Championships for Team USA, and he wanted to shoot it on legs. So I said, hey, if anyone wants to shoot it on legs, you could go with Danny in the back. If two parties agree, I'm completely okay with it. All right, man, so many questions. Hello, what makes a good female judoka? Oh, that's a very good question. I think exact same attributes that makes a good male judoka also make a good female judoka, right? Moving on. Hey, how are you? Any good tips on learning the Nage no Kata? Yeah, find someone who knows it, watch some YouTube videos and try it out. I think that's why most of the people come to my YouTube channel to learn judo, and they say, oh, look at this guy explaining this technique. Oh, kind of makes sense. Let me try it in the dojo. You take a willing partner and say, hey, can I try this on you? Right? Can you go after? And then go back and forth. And then you refine, and then you could ask me questions and go on this blog and all this stuff. All right. Grady Beckel says, okay, since we are rolling, I was recently promoted to black belt in BJJ. Congratulations. Is it still sinking in? Okay, good. It's still sinking in. I need to learn how to read. So to ground my question more, I have held titles in powerlifting and weightlifting. That's amazing too. How long to judo black belt? All right, that's another question. It's almost always depends, right? It depends on, it seems like you're a very athletic, capable person. Depends on where you go to the school. At my dojo, we do very merit-based system, sort of. And if you're coming in with all that experience and you're capable of rolling and doing well and you're competitive with all my guys, I would fly you through a white, yellow, green. And then we take part in the Hudson Judo organization, their competitive promotional tournaments. And if you win there, you could just promote yourself from first level, second level, third level brown to all the way to black, right? I've seen guys with tons of experience coming into judo as a newbie and fly through to black belt in 3 to 5 years, right? In judo black belt. That's important to know. The judo black belt's a little bit different in theory from what it is in Japan and what it is in the United States. In Japan, having a judo black belt means, you sort of know the basics, you're ready to go. There's middle schoolers in Japan wearing a judo black belt, right? So it's really important to distinguish and what the culture says about that black belt too. Now, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, they've branded themselves completely differently. Right? They say, it takes 10 years, 15 years to get a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And when you hear BJJ black belt, people are like, oh, because they know that's how long it takes, right? Judo's not really the same case. And yes, there are teachers out there in the United States who hold their students back and say, hey, not yet. You're going to be a yellow for this many years. You're going to be a green for this many years and all this stuff. And it takes 10 years, 15, 20 years to get a judo black belt. But it really depends on the instructor, right? So, yeah, maybe come to my dojo, if you're very, very capable and you can compete with all my guys, then maybe you get a black belt in 5 years. Who knows, right? Can't guarantee anything, though. Good morning from Japan. How are you? I am 12. Okay, what happened there? And I lost my place. Man, there's so many questions here. How am I going to get through all this? All right. I'm 12, I have a half yellow belt. When will I start getting full belts? That's a question for your teacher, but stick with it. Judo will help you, right? Judo will make you stronger, it'll make you better, right? Lots of positives that come from judo. All right. Man, this thing is so difficult to follow. Let's see. What makes a good female judoka? Please. Like I said, the same thing that makes a good male judoka is applicable to female judoka, right? The same techniques, same skill sets, the same sport, right? All the same skill sets that are necessary for a male judoka to be good is the same for female judoka. All right. What are you studying? Also, how long to core belt in judo? What degree in BJJ would you compare to detail-wise? I am getting an MBA. It's a Master's in Business Administration. They moved classes to an online format, and man, I hate it. It's the worst. I cannot sit there and go through valuation, on a Zoom class when the thing cuts in and out. I can rant about that all day. It's very difficult also with these screens to be distracting with no teacher looking me in the eyeballs and saying, hey, pay attention, right? So I'm kind of struggling there, but I'll do okay. Core belt. I have a 6th degree red and white belt in judo. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th degree, 5 degrees of black, and then on the 6th, you get a red and white belt. And you get that 6th, 7th, and 8th degree red and white. It's kind of a nice thing. It takes a very long time. I don't know what the equivalent of it is in jiu-jitsu, but I assume it's probably something similar, right? Because, the ranking system is very similar. In judo, we have white, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, brown, black, XYZ. And in jiu-jitsu, they skip the yellow, green, and go white, blue, purple, brown, black. So it sort of comes from really the same system. I think it came from France originally. I know Jigoro Kano invented the gi with the white belt, and then the black belt, that was one of his things. And then the French were responsible for the colored belt system, I think. And then the US followed suit, and then, it just kind of took off from there, right? Now every martial art has belts, and, people say, oh, that guy has a black belt in, XYZ, and it's just a thing people say now. It sort of became part of our jargon. I find that pretty cool. All right, good shoulder exercise for strengthening the muscle of the, shoulder exercises. Military presses, right? Standing straight military presses. I don't think you could replace that. If you have shoulder issues, impingement issues, I would go with dumbbells, right? Dumbbells are a little bit better, I think, because they work independently, and that's a great exercise for you. Corrective exercises. My cousin's a physical therapist. You should reach out to him, Eugene. All right. Man, there's so many questions. Man, 1 year and thanks. Don't get one because of the quarantine. All right. I asked you to give us a lesson on how to detach and when the opponent's grip. Thanks for children. Sorry if I'm mumbling and rushing. I'm getting overwhelmed by so many questions, and I want to get through all of it. And I know we're limited on time. All right. How to detach and when the opponent's grip. Thank you. Okay, when do you break grips? That's a good one. Locked up 50-50, dead even, lapel sleeve, and I feel like this guy's about to throw me. I feel a little bit danger, right? And I feel a little bit scared. And then, so naturally, I escape my hips away to create distance, right? And it's kind of counterintuitive because when you create your distance and your hips go back, you're in a more compromised position, right? The person could break your posture a lot more by snapping you down. So as opposed to trying to escape and compromising my posture to where the opponent could take advantage of it, I say, you know what? I don't like his lapel hand being there. I might go for a foot attack or something and break that sleeve, right? Break that lapel hand. And that's a nice way to do it. I made tons of videos on this before. You can go check that out. All right, my mom wants to know if there are any judokas as good as you in New York, and do you currently train with people as good as you? I would have to say Issa is my inspiration. She's probably one of the best judokas I've ever worked with. And, God, Issa, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I feel very loved. All right. Hope all your crew is safe. Thank you. Hope all your crew is safe too. Do you play ego or shogi? Not really. I feel that's the best way to train the mind, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a good way to train the mind. Chess is good too. There's lots of ways to train your mind, read books, go to school, right? All right, let's see. Do you practice leg attacks, fireman's carry, even though they aren't allowed in competition? Not so much anymore, right? Not so much anymore. It was a really big tool for me because I'm much shorter than all my opposition when I compete. People in the 220 category tend to be 6 feet plus. I'm 5'8", 5'9", on my best day soaking wet. So it was kind of tricky competing against those tall people that have much longer arms and leverage. When they get their dominant position, I would duck down and shooting on the legs to escape, using it as a bailout attack a lot of the times. But now there's no reason for that, so I don't train it as much. But I still have a couple in my back pocket. Female judoka. Okay, a good female judoka is strong, she's fast, she's athletic, she's intelligent. All the same things that a good male judoka has, a good female judoka has too, right? My favorite thing, Sensei, thank you so much. What do you think about combination fake Kosoto Gake into Tomonage? Yeah, sure. You know, I'm going to warn you though, if you're memorizing combinations, and it's a tricky game, right? You have to sort of understand the concepts and the positions, having a winning position versus losing positions, and working off of that. And a lot of the times when you're doing combinations, if the person doesn't react properly on that first attack, then the second thing's not going to be there. So learning how to read your opponent is very important, right? Every time you win position, and then they put their hips back, and then you fake a forward throw, they lean back onto their heels, then that's a good time to do a misdirection combination to the back, or in your situation, Kosoto Gake to Tomonage, right? Right side dominant, you cut the hand, go over the top, you go Kosoto Gake, and the person kicks their leg back and swings their body weight this way, and then go on Tomonage that way. That's great. Yeah, that could potentially work, but to set up that specific combination exactly the way that is and training your body to do that is going to be very difficult, right? So you want to sort of have a little bit more intuitive style where you're sort of improvising and you know the concepts and you know the positions, right? Hope that's helpful. Should leg attacks be introduced back into judo in your opinion? Great question. I think if wrestling can have freestyle, Greco-Roman, and collegiate, right? Judo should be able to have regular judo, Kosen judo, and old school judo. I like how I said regular judo for the current judo rule sets. I think that's completely possible, right? I know it's it's a controversial topic, and I understand where the IOC and the Olympic Committee and all these guys, you know, came at judo and said, hey, your sport looks much like wrestling. We need to do something about it, right? And I understand that. And then IJF complying and saying, okay, we'll take out leg grabs and we'll go back to the classic stand-up judo style. I get it, you know, and then once you think of it that way, you have to look at it in terms of like the spectrum of, is judo a martial art or is judo an Olympic sport, right? Because sport versus martial arts, you know, it's sort of completely, not complete, but it's different, right? And although they have very similar things, and can it be both? Yes, it can. But if you think only in terms of martial arts and maiming someone and using it as a tool to defeat someone and beat someone, right? Then, you know, yeah, then you should introduce leg grabs. You should know how to defend against a double leg takedown or all these different things. And you should know how to, you know, if someone throws a rock, to go in, drop under, and take a single leg, right? Should leg grabs be back in the IJF? I mean, I would like to see it, you know. I come up with these crazy ideas of like, all right, you know, maybe allow your competitors to go in for one leg grab, you know, a match, or two leg grabs a match, or if you can shoot it on the leg and if you don't score, it's a penalty, but if you score, it counts. All these different ideas that I think about that could potentially make judo more exciting, that doesn't completely take out leg grabs, period, because it's a shame. You know, we spent so much of our time doing it and refining this skill. It's a shame for it to just be gone. Right? So maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe have a separate division. Who knows? All right, what's the difference between Japanese Jiu-Jitsu versus BJJ? Okay, that's Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is all encompassing punching, kicking, striking. You know, it was one of those martial arts back in the day when a samurai with his sword loses their sword. It's like, all right, what are we going to do now? All right, let's do some hand-to-hand combat. Right? So it's got traditional front technique, side, back, a lot of forms. Every Japanese martial art is very different. Judos are very centralized. It's globalized in a way where it's the same all across the world. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is submission wrestling, essentially, right? It's judo newaza. It's not too many takedowns, but they do a lot of newaza. It's 90% groundwork, right? And they have a gi division and a no gi division, right? Judo, maybe do a leg grab and a no grab division. You know, maybe throw on Kosen Judo and call it BJJ. Who knows? It's probably Not so popular opinion, but why not? We're sort of lagging in the Newaza front in judo. I know that's another one that's not popular opinion. But judo does have its advantages though. When you're looking at judo Newaza, it's in the transitions, right? The transition of like, boom, hit the ground, you're going cranking on the arm already, right? Boom, the person goes for a throw, you're already strangling with a British strangle, a bow and arrow choke. So judo has its place with Newaza. BJJ, a little bit more evolved just in terms of just the groundwork, right? I know not popular opinion, but it's the truth, right? Just as much as wrestling has better leg grab techniques than all the other grappling arts, right? We all know this, right? We don't want to admit to it as judokas, but we have to sort of accept the reality of it, right? But Japanese jiu-jitsu and BJJ, way different. But Japanese jiu-jitsu was first, had everything in it. Judo took out all the striking and took the grappling part of it. And then Brazilian jiu-jitsu came along and said, yeah, you know what? Stand-up sucks. We're going to go to the ground. And then they just went with it. And they did a good job with it, too. All right. Yo, Shintaro, what's your take on how judo will change after the pandemic is over? Christian. What's up, Christian? I don't know the answer to this question. And it's what keeps me up at night. I saw a video of these guys in Japan training with masks on. I don't know how that's going to look like. That's going to be kind of weird. Maybe take the temperature at the front door. Maybe assign people one partner to go to practice with, right? I'm only working with Adam Clapper, until this whole thing blows over, right? So you're constantly just beating on that one dude. Or maybe they're beating on you, So who knows? I don't really know. There's a lot of ideas floating around. Hopefully, vaccine comes out and we just go back to the way life used to be. But you never know, right? So I'm not sweating that. All right, hi Shintaro. Recently got your judo basics instructional. Thank you very much. I've been loving it. Loads of really good stuff for a beginner. Highly recommend. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. It's essentially my life's work, right? I've always thought about judo and I really wanted to reinvent the basics, right? And I used to always ask myself this question, why do we teach Osotogari first? It's the craziest thing. I mean, I still do it, but it's like, why? If you look at judo, here's the thought. There's two types of techniques, right? Techniques where you have both feet on the ground and techniques you have one feet on the ground. Now, which do you think is harder to execute? Right? When you're on one leg, now you have to take into consideration balance, right? You have to balance on one leg and throw the person. Osoto, harai, things like this. Uchimata, right? Taitoshi, you have two legs on. Ogoshi, you have two legs on. It's a little bit easier to keep your balance. Why do we teach Osoto first? Chopping at the side of the knee, it's insanely dangerous. So I wanted to sort of reinvent the basics judo just so conceptually people can come into it and understand why these techniques work and understand the strategy behind it, right? Because if you teach two people who are athletic, Osotogari, Ippon Seinagi, okay, go throw each other. It's the most dangerous thing on this planet. I don't know who thought of that. I don't know who does that. I mean, I did that for years and years and years, but I needed to come up with a new way. And, the judo basics was sort of my contribution to the sport. I know that sounds arrogant and crass, but it was something that I've given great thought in the positions and the ideas behind what I teach and what I do. Hopefully it helps. Thank you. Throwing dummy. Help to get the motor memory down, which throws vibes me better. Of course, supplemented with Rondori. If it helps you, God bless. Keep doing it, right? Would you do a first point of contact series for each grip to Newaza after a missed throw? That would be tight. Yeah, it would be tight. Yeah, first point of contact is huge. First hand advantage, right? You could attack off of it if you have the proper hand on first. That's the key, right? If I have this hand on, righty versus right, I could attack to this side. The other person can't attack, right? That's sort of the entire idea. All right, black belt here. Would you recommend transitioning into BJJ or pick up a striking art? Before this quarantine, I was thinking about doing something different, but still keeping up with judo. Vin, smash, jam, that's a very good question. It depends on what your goals are, right? If your goal is to be a well-rounded grappler and you don't really care about fighting anyone or punching anyone, and then you do jiu-jitsu, right? Or even wrestling. Do you like newaza? Do you like groundwork, right? You have to like groundwork if you're going to go into jiu-jitsu. But if you're thinking more in terms of like, all right, if I ever get into a street fight, would I know how to close the distance against a skilled striker? Going out there and trying to put your hands on and grab someone is going to get you punched, right? So it really depends on that, right? What your goals are, and you have to examine yourself and say, hey, do you still compete, right? That's another question that you have to ask yourself. Maybe jiu-jitsu can help you compete better in judo. Maybe Greco-Roman wrestling could make your judo 10 times better, right? We don't know this because there's so much other information that I don't have access to at this point. So I can't really give you a direct advice to say go for jiu-jitsu or go for boxing. But, you have to ask, just DM me and then, give me more information on Instagram, and then I'll be able to help you a little bit more, right? All right, do you practice newaza daily? Yes, I do practice newaza daily. Not right now because, we're quarantined, but I do practice newaza when the dojo is open. All right, let's see. How do you think I should prepare my first year of high school wrestling? How do you think I should prepare for my first year of wrestling in high school? Listen to the coach, right? Do your very best. Stay injury-free. And staying injury-free is very important, right? Know your body, know your limitations. Sleep right, have a good diet. I know my diet's not so clean right now, but it's very important for injury prevention, right? Making sure your mobility is on point, all those different things. Most importantly, listen to your coach, right? Hopefully he's a good coach. I hope so. Hey, Sensei, I train in karate. We have a lot of judo elements to it. Do you know any cross training do I do any cross training with a striking art? Yeah, I've done it. I've done karate because my father's judo school. We teach jiu-jitsu, aikido, and karate also, so I've done all of it. I've boxed, I've done Muay Thai with Joe Sampieri. He loves punching me in the face and kicking me. I don't like getting hit that much. I've done striking before. I like it a lot. My expertise is judo though, right? So, yeah, answer that question. Cheers from Texas. Cheers from New York. Turn on your super chats. What is super chats? What the hell is that? What is super chats? I don't know what that is. All right, I'll figure it out. What is the most valuable skill attribute that you have learned from judo? That's an interesting one. Skill attribute. It's hard to say because judo's given me so much, right? People, you say judo's giving you so much, but judo's literally given me everything. It all starts with my father. A long, long time ago, 1937, the guy was born, and he was living in Japan during World War II, and it was impoverished. And, people talk about, I want to train really hard and escape this poverty. And it was the thing that he really did, right? He literally grappled his way out of poverty. Right? Came to New York. I didn't have that sort of gritty upbringing, nice suburban neighborhood, mom that bakes me a cake, all those different things that are a lot softer, that made me a lot softer, clearly. But yeah, I did judo my whole life, and I teach judo now, and I have 2 dojos. Well, no dojos right now because of the pandemic. But, I do everything because of judo. Judo gives me so much meaning, so much joy. And one of my favorite things right now really is going to the dojo and watching my guys learn and scrap. People from all walks of life. It's just, man, I can't tell you how inspired I get watching these guys. A lot of these guys aren't bred into judo or bred as fighters, right? These guys are going to 9-to-5 jobs or going to school, and after school coming to the dojo, and they're training, trying to make themselves better, and they care about each other and pushing each other. So I think just giving me a place, man, just a place in this world to where I could show my art and inspire people and be inspired in return. I think that's, what I get the most from judo. And, because of that, right, I have a very strong sense of belonging, within my family, obviously. My dad's a judoka, and then my friends who are in the sport. Most of my friends are judo people. I'm sorry if you're from school and you're watching this. But yeah, that, and then, it's strength in numbers, right? You have people that in your life that are ambitious. You look at Peter, who's trying to leave me and move to Michigan to pursue a PhD like a sucker. And like seeing him, on the regular, grinding away, doing judo and making himself better, inspires me. So, yeah, judo gives me strength. This gives me food on the table, and this t-shirt, Kushibudo t-shirt, all that stuff. So hopefully I was able to answer that question. What do you think about combination fake Kosoto Gake to Tomonage? Judo fever? Great combination. Keep going for it. All right, how do you balance your dojo life with your work at the MBA program at NYU Stern? Great question, Peter. Being in a group with people that are smarter than you is my secret, right? And I think this goes across the board for everything. If you're the smartest person in the room, you gotta go to another room, right? If you're in a dojo and you're the top dog and you're kicking the shit out of everybody, I'm not telling you to leave your dojo, right? But you need to find yourself new ways to challenge yourself. If you're sort of middle of the pack and there's a lot of people who are beating on you in the dojo, that's gonna help you, right? And same idea with me and the NBA. I'm sort of coattailing along with some of these really bright CFOs and CEOs, and those guys are teaching me a lot. Thank you for the softball, Peter. That's a nice question. Yeah, thank you. Hopefully, the answer to your question. Good family is the answer to that. Judo and microchips for life. Yep, it's important stuff. I think you saw my Instagram video of me fixing my MacBook Pro. Yeah, it's like a new hobby that I got a lot of new hobbies during this quarantine because, I could easily get bored. So I've been doing my very best to keep myself occupied, and one of my new hobbies. All right, how do you feel about leg locks? Are you for or against them? Yeah, I'm for them. I like watching the progression of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in this world and seeing the new types of ideas that come about. And, I think, if you can't pass someone's guard, drop down and try to leg lock, and then when they go to defend that leg lock, being able to attack the upper body too, I think that's huge. I think that's very important to know. Maybe not so much as a judoka, or if you're not competing in, sport jiu-jitsu, then it might not be so useful, right? It really always comes down to what your goals are. If you're looking at fighting, like defending yourself, all these different factors have to come into play, right? Yeah, you're gonna go great rolling leg lock, fine. You're an expert at it, but you're on the ground now trying to crank on someone's knee, and they have 3 friends with them that's gonna stomp you in the face. That's not gonna really help you, right? So that's something to keep in mind. No orange belts at your school. We don't do orange belts for adults. We do white, yellow, green, and then brown, black. So we don't do any adult oranges in my dojo. Yeah, we just don't. All right, judo or BJJ for self-defense? Another good question. How many people are you fighting? Are you in a crowded subway in Manhattan? Are you going to pull guard on the 6 train with 40 people standing around you? Right? Or is it you versus another person in an alley against someone who's 10 times bigger that you probably can't throw, but maybe if you go to the ground, you could submit them? I mean, all these different factors matter, right? How extensive is your judo background? You know what I mean? If you're going, against someone with 1 year of judo experience and the person outweighs you by 60 pounds and he's a super athlete, you're still probably not going to be able to throw him, right? But maybe you could choke them, right? Who knows, right? There's too many variables to say judo or BJJ for self-defense. Who are you learning from, too, right? That matters, right? Because sometimes you have good judo instructors, sometimes you have bad judo instructors. Same with jiu-jitsu, right? Sometimes You're at a school where they only focus on competition, the sport aspect of the martial art, and then you're not really learning the martial implications of any of this stuff. So too many variables to say, as always, right? It depends. What should be well considered for a striker transition to a judoka? That's an interesting question. Striker to judoka. I mean, your fingers are going to hurt. And then, might have some knee injuries and, maybe shoulders, who knows. What should be considered? I don't know. If you guys have an answer to that, please comment on the chat. For Med Hasni, right? Let's see. Thank you for your knowledge. What throws or positions should someone avoid if they have an ACL replacement in the knee? Yeah, that's the thing about judo. Because when you're on one leg carrying someone on your back and you're balanced and you need to apply a twisting motion to take that person over past the tipping point, there's going to be some sort of torque on that knee. But an ACL replacement, sometimes people could come back stronger. All right, I'll tell you a story. I was in a room once with probably, 5 or 6 of the best U.S. judo people from the last, decade or so. And I would say 90% of those guys had ACL surgery. I'm not just going to go through the list and name drop, but all those guys had ACL replacement surgery and they came back, bigger and stronger, right? So just because you have an ACL replacement doesn't mean that your knees are weak, right? I don't know what your condition of your knee is. I don't know what your articular cartilage is doing, what the condition of your meniscus is, what your rehab protocol was like, whether you have a good physical therapist or not. There's just too many different factors for me to know. But if the other person does a dangerous chopping at the knee or sotogari or something like that, avoid that person. And I hope your dojo sort of bans Tani Otoshi, because Tani Otoshi is probably the most dangerous technique in all of martial arts, and it's probably responsible for over 60% of the injuries in most of these dojos. So in my dojo, no Tani Otoshi. I warn people against the chop into the knee or sotogari. People do it anyway, what are you going to do? All right. Sandeep, there is no single best option in my opinion. Try MMA for that. That's good advice too. If you want to learn self-defense, MMA works too, right? Yeah, try MMA. Who knows, right? Maybe that's what you're looking for. Always find a good instructor. Find a dojo that fits you, right? Maybe the instructor doesn't give a shit about someone that's coming and saying, I want to learn self-defense, right? It's like, no, man, this school, we're only going to bred and breed top-level athletes that fight in competition that can make my school and make me look good. You don't want to be in a dojo like that, right? So you have to really sniff out the culture. You have to go from school to school, talk to the instructors one-to-one, and then really find a school that fits for you, right? And then let them know what your intentions are. I want to learn how to defend myself. And of course, they're going to say, yeah, this is the best place, for learning how to defend yourself because X, Y, and Z, indomitable spirit, blah, blah, blah. But you have to do your own research and your own due diligence because, a lot of these people are full of shit, right? You got to be careful. Always find a good school. Right? I'm not trying to talk myself up saying, hey, my school is the best school. I'm not saying that. I'm sure there's tons of good schools out there. I've seen it. But, you have to do your due diligence. All right, how would you alter your stand-up to accommodate BJJ rule set? During BJJ round, people will stiff arm and completely. Okay, I think here's a good one. It depends on what I'm trying to go for, what my goals are in training are. If you're doing BJJ, I think one of my best advice for you to learn in judo is learning tomonage and sumigaeshi. If you're gonna pull guard anyway, might as well go for a throw while you do it. Okay, so we bow, we shake hands, do this thing, grip up, go for tomonage. If you miss, person's in your guard, right? Whether it's closed guard, open guard, or however you transition to the floor, you go for sumi, right? You succeed, you're on top. If you fail, you're on bottom, right? So sumi, tomonage, those sacrifice throws are very, very important. And once you learn that, you want to be able to fake the quick sumi, go kochi ochi for a backward technique, right? Fake the tomonage, switch directions for an inside trip or anything going back. Once you're capable of doing that, then you can go ochi, sumi, kochi, tomonage, right? So now you have 4 techniques under your belt. right, that sort of interact with each other on this plane back and forth, right? Losing position, person dominates the grip, go tomonage. Fake tomonage, go position, go, backwards, right? Fighting for position, you winning position, snap them down, go koichi tomonage, right? If you miss, you're doing newaza anyway now. So that's my advice for you. If I'm doing BJJ stuff, I would probably focus a lot more on my tomonage and sumigaeshi. My tomonage and sumigaeshi is okay, it's pretty good, but it's not my main throw, right? So if I transition into that rule set, I would really focus on learning those two techniques and perfecting those two techniques so I'd be the best at it, right? Because, I'm definitely not the best at those two techniques. All right, what do you think about combination fake kosotogake and to do tomonage? Do it! It's a good combination. All right, what do you think about Seiryoku Zenyo Kokumin Taiku? And more importantly, how do you stay sane during the quarantine? All right, Seiryoku Zenyo. Minimum effort, maximum efficiency. Efficiency is very, very important. You don't want to waste your time. Time is so precious. You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste your energy. You want to spend time doing stuff that don't matter, right? So it's very important. I think it's a big portion of judo philosophy. How do I stay sane during the quarantine? That's a good question. I desperately miss judo a lot, but I've been trying to keep myself occupied, and I've been trying to count my blessings as much as possible. My father's 82 years old, so it's nice to be able to spend this much time with him because I'm quarantined at my parents' house. It's nice being able to spend so much time with my 2-year-old daughter. I have a lot of interests, so when my parents are watching my baby, my daughter, I get to read and do schoolwork, and I get to work on my MacBook Pro from 2012. It's kind of giving me problems, and I bought a Mac Mini to work on, and I don't know, I'm just messing around with all these different things, reading and mosquito, doing all these different things. I know it's tough for everyone out there, but yeah, that's how I'm trying to stay sane as much as I can. All right, hello, by Diego. When teaching, do you teach every position with foot variation or just what feels right? I know these guys are like, okay, variation 1, the foot goes here, variation 2, the foot goes there. I think, this is my opinion, and it's probably not going to be popular opinion, where does the foot go when you do Taio doesn't really matter that much. Because if I put my foot here relative to this person in a perfect scalene triangle or isosymmetrical triangle or whatever it is, if the person moves 1 inch, 2 inches to the left, that foot position relative to that person is completely gone, right? So I don't think, I understand the teaching tool of like, you want to be able to consistently put your back foot here every single time on a cooperating body. I get it. But I think people overemphasize the importance of this and then teach you different variations, the foot here, the foot there, foot there. Like I always say, man, it's like, forget what your little pinky's doing, right? It's like, sensei, thank you for teaching me this technique. What should my pinky be doing? And should I look out the corner of my left eye or should I look out the corner of my right? Like, it doesn't matter, okay? A lot of this minutia, it doesn't matter. And if you focus on the tiny, tiny details that are far beyond, that don't even matter, you're going to completely miss the big picture, right? So don't really even think about it. Then really think and learn systems and concepts and positions. That's really the key to getting your judo better, right? All right, what is your experience with BJJ? That's a good question. It's sort of an interesting relationship. I never done jiu-jitsu until a certain age, and my friend was like, hey, come do jiu-jitsu at my friend's school. I was like, okay, and I went, and it was this guy, Jojo Gorin. He was amazing, right? He was so nice, he was so welcoming. I actually arrogantly walked in with a judo black belt, right? And, they started standing, and so it was a huge advantage for me, obviously. And, I did my thing, I did my practice, and I came back the next practice, and then Jojo was like, you cannot, I came back with a white belt the next practice, because I was like, all right, I'm going to learn this. I want to learn this, right? Some of them had very good newaza. Jojo Gorin had amazing newaza. So I was like, I want to learn this. Came in a white belt, and he goes, you can't wear that. I'm like, wait, I can't wear a judo black belt. I feel weird, right? He goes, nah, just take this blue belt essentially. And then I trained with him for a summer. A couple of years later, I was back from college or something, and I had the whole summer off. I went and trained with Donaher for a summer. It was like July and August or something. At the end of the summer, he gave me a purple belt, and that was sort of my second sort of interaction with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then time went by, I'm doing judo and I have all this stuff. And then there's a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys coming through my dojo, right? And sometimes they're phenomenal. And, you know, not to name drop or anything, Bernardo Faria was coming to my judo school for a little while. And, you know, guys like that would roll in. It's like, hey, I'm trying to maximize my jiu-jitsu game by learning some stand-up. Can you teach him some stand-up? You know, Hiram Gracie was coming by my dojo for a little while. And those guys, you know, doing Newaza with those guys really helped me out a lot too. I think my biggest, someone who influenced my Newaza the most, this guy Brian Glick, right? He's sort of the most underrated savant in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's completely unknown because he doesn't compete, you know, and he's one of the biggest thought leaders in the game, and you know, he's just the most knowledgeable Jiu-Jitsu guy I've ever met. And we used to just trade privates. You know, we would meet up at the New York Athletic Club on like a Wednesday morning, and we would do judo for an hour, and we'll do jiu-jitsu for an hour. And, you know, we would do some stand-up, and then sometimes, you know, we'll transition to the ground, and we'll just keep doing the waza. We'll train for like 2 hours. You know, it was a lot of it was just flowing, right? And then he'll ask me questions, and I'll ask him questions, and it was very amazing. Brian, if you ever have a chance to watch this, you know, what's going on? Shout out to you. I'll probably text you later today or tomorrow or something. But yeah, that's my experience with jiu-jitsu. Nothing formal, you know, nothing serious, but you know, I competed in one tournament. I won it. It was nice. Anyway, at what age did you get your black belts? Judo, I want to say like 14 or something like this. I can't really remember, but I was young. I fought in the promotional tournament in the adult division. I did pretty good. And it sounds very impressive, but I was a very big kid, right? I was already like 5'8" in like 6th grade. And I was already, you know, big. I was a chubby kid, huge kid, you know. So me being 14, 13 years old, I was already, you know, pretty much the size that I am now with a lot less muscle, with a lot more fat. But, you know, I was able to hold my own with some of the adults who were sort of just, you know, out of shape, right? I mean, I was out of shape too, but I was young. All right. I heard Masahiko Kimura practice Sotogai on a tree. Got pretty good with it. Is that dumb or something that would help me improve my Osoto? You know, there's just so many more resources now. You know, at the time when judo wasn't so evolved and people didn't know as much, and just the physicality of him alone doing Osoto on a tree probably helped propel him to the top, right? I think times are a little bit different, so, you know, I don't think you should be doing Osoto on a tree. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, so what should I do with kids 6 to 11 years old? All right, I'll give you one of my favorite pieces of advice for what I did with my judo kids that was radical, and it was the biggest game changer for me. When we do randori with kids between 5 and 10, I don't let the kids do randori, free randori, right? I think that's crazy. Take 2 kids in a ring and say, okay, go kick the shit out of each other, slam each other as hard as you can. Go. That's nuts. I hold the back of their collars, so if one kid slams the other kid, I can catch the person on the way down. Okay, I don't do it so much anymore. Some of my other instructors do. But I don't really let the kids do full-blown randori because it's very, very, very dangerous. It takes that one time when you're not paying attention for a kid to land straight headfirst into the ground and get injured, right? So I just couldn't stomach that anymore. And, you know, I'm a little bit softer than the traditionalist of like, if you can't tough it out, then you don't belong on the judoka. I'm not one of those guys. So I really completely sort of re-engineered children's judo in my school where we hold these guys up, right? So they don't get slammed, right? That way they have longevity in the sport. That's very important. They have longevity in the sport, and they learn to stay in uncomfortable positions. They get more comfortable in losing positions, right? Normally when you're getting dominated, person snapping your head down, kids might take a knee or just go for a bad bailout attack, right? But if I'm there holding on to them, kid is less likely to be scared because they'd be like, hey, come on, tough it out. I'm like right there giving them advice. So that's what I would suggest for 6 to 11. All right. Juan Denz, you have both judo wrestling experience. Which is best for self-defense in your opinion if you only had to choose one? That's always a very tough question. I know for a fact that most UFC fighters who are very successful have wrestling backgrounds. Wrestling is important too, but it depends who you're trying to defend against, right? That's just one of those things, man. You can't decide. There's lots of good things in wrestling, lots of good things in judo. If I had to choose one, I'll probably say judo just because I'm biased, right? But know that it's coming from a place of bias, right? You ask an UFC fighter, that person's probably going to tell you wrestling, and that person's probably not wrong. And I'm probably not wrong too. So, just got to deal with that as an answer. All right, solo drills, do you recommend home quarantine? Solo drills, not a big fan of them. I think this is a great time to work on your physical fitness, learning to balance out all the imbalances that you've developed through turning to one direction or punching with one arm or gripping with one hand. It's a great chance to rebalance your body and train mobility and all these different things to get your body ready to get back into judo shape. Solo drills, I'm just going to go with calisthenics right now. Squats, push-ups, those are some of the best things you can do for yourself right now. And if you have a pull-up bar, that's great. All right, squat, push-ups, pull-ups, you cover a lot of it, right? Andrew Guadagino, do you run the Hudson Judo Instagram account? I was told it was you. Thanks for the shout out last November. I did for like a hot second, and then now I think Issa runs it over. If I gave you a shout out, you say thank you, you're welcome. Keep doing judo, right? Hello, Luis, Pizza Crusher. Best way to prevent tons of injuries when normal classes return to the school. Everyone will be roaring to go. Yes, there will be. Yes, they will be. There will be some craziness. People running to the dojo and throwing down. I don't know how we're going to prevent everyone from getting hurt. I'm going to tell everyone to go light first. Take it easy. Go slow. The usual. I might not even let anyone do randori for the first 2 weeks. Just because, it's going to get crazy in there. People are going to be ripping and roaring. And, yeah, maybe no randori for the first month. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Keon Beg. Hey, Shintaro, I'm a London living blue belt judoka. Wanted to let you know I absolutely love you. Thank you. I love you too. You've boosted my judo game with strategy beyond belief. I'm working to get to the national team. That makes me so happy. Keep going at it, man. This is the stuff I live for, This is the best thing about YouTube, right? I can teach my judo guys at the dojo, and I could teach you guys too. And, reach out. I like hearing from you guys. I might not get back to everyone in the comments on YouTube because it's kind of getting overwhelming, right? All these comments, I can't read through them every day. I don't like being on my phone all day also. So it's tricky. But yeah, give me a shout out and then I'll do my best to respond. If I'm in front of it, I will respond. And yeah, man, keep training hard. Hope to see you on the Olympics one day, All right, Shinjiro Sasaki, do you know my coach? Yeah, I know Shinjiro Sasaki. He's an amazing guy. I saw him last year. I've seen him the year before that. When he first opened up his school in Tampa, I took a visit down there with Bobby Lee, who was on the national team with me. And we just hung out in Tampa, and we went to see Shinjiro. We did some judo. Awesome guy. He's got some good videos out there too. He's got some very slick Korean Seinagi stuff. He's a technician. Much respect for him. 2 more live streams for us in the future, please. Yes, I will. I'm thinking maybe I'm enjoying this. I'm having a good time. This sort of caters to my strengths of just talking at people, right? And I've been known to do that and just talking, and so yeah, I'm having a good time. Maybe I'll do once a week or something. Who knows, right? Okay, I messed it up. I switched the techniques. Kenneth Alexander, I know this guy. In Newaza, do you prefer to pin or to submit? It's a very good question. Pin first and then submit. If you're only playing to the rules of the sport that you're playing, you limit yourself, right? Yes, when you pin someone for 25 seconds or whatever it is in judo, you win, but you want to do so because you don't want to just pin someone, let them go and reset. You want to pin them, control them, and then work for submission, right? If you can't get the submission there, transition to another dominant position. And if you're sick and tired of just dominating the person, let them escape out, let them have dominant position, right? Pin or submit, do both. All right, Pizza Crusher, you got to run. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Alex Hosu, hello. Mouth guard is needed in judo. How dangerous is judo to teeth? I mean, you could potentially get your teeth knocked out. Take a headbutt. That's a possibility. Mouth guard, prevent concussions. I'm never against taking the proper precautions, but we don't require it, right? Because it's not like you're getting punched in the face. But I'm sure it's nice to, take the extra necessary, right? Let's see. I lost my place. I'm sorry. Man. I don't know if it's region dependent, sorry, not religion. But do you have any tips on the path from getting from local, regional, national fighting to the national team? Yeah, it's very region dependent. I know in the United States there's different, every couple of years it changes, and I'm sure it's different from where you are in London. Yeah, the criteria is different across the globe. I know the criteria for the Olympics, to qualify for the Olympics, is uniform across the globe, but I don't know what it's going to be like for you to make the national team. So you're going to have to start making some phone calls in London. How hard are the mats used in judo competition? Pretty hard. Have you ever used judo in a real life situation? Yes, I have. When I was in my early 20s, I worked at a bar. And being that I don't have the typical look of the security guard standing in front of the bar, standing, 6'8" or something like this, people will mess with me a lot, and people will challenge me and say, hey, this, that, this, and I say, you got to go, this is my favorite, like, buddy, you're getting a little bit too drunk, you got to go. And they say, make me. And then, then you have to do some judo, right? And it's sort of my thing, right? So I frequently use judo. I remember working as a bouncer with my friend Victor Jean-Baptiste. Maybe some of you guys know him. He was a 6-time national champ from Haiti. And he was my training partner. He's my buddy. And, we worked the bar together. And one time, man, this guy was like, make me. And this guy grabbed him, ran him outside, and squee-nogged him on the floor. It was crazy. And then he got on the ground and he's like, oh shit, he pwned. And it was just like, it was just craziness, It sounds pretty cool, but, it was pretty cool. But, we also have the advantage of not being drunk as bar room security guards. So that was a huge advantage. I've had to use judo a couple of times. Don't really want to get into that, but yeah, maybe I'll answer that question another time. Am I going to transition into MMA? Absolutely not, because I don't want to take those shots to the face. I think, how am I going to read my articles and stuff if I'm getting kicked in the head, right? I'm training Shotokan Karate, but Judo, BJJ, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is really, really good. Love the sport. Great, I love it too. I agree the whole approach to training beginners needs reviewing. The traditional approach isn't good. I don't want to say it's not good, right? I learned through the traditional approach, and a lot of people had success with the traditional approach. So I don't think it's a good or a bad situation. I just think it needs to be refined and evolve just a little bit. Just a little bit. Nick D. I like all the questions that you're giving me. Is wearing a black gi still frowned upon at judo schools? Probably. If I showed up at Kukushibudo or Kano wearing a jiu-jitsu gi, would I get any grief? Not from me. I'm completely okay with it. You know, gi is just a training tool. I know a lot of schools say no patches this, no patches that. I'm okay with it. If my father was subbing out a class or something like that, then he would not be okay with it. He would tell you to go home. You know, I'm trying to talk to him about it, but you know, he's, you know, 87 years old. So 87, no, 83, 83. Yeah, he's pretty old. He's 83 years old, so he's not listening to me. So, but me, no, you can wear whatever you want. Okay. Let's see. David Colonna. I remember you. You're the man. All right. Do you think boxing and grip fighting complement each other for work and good judo body position? I think so. I think the grip fighting, if you know how to do it properly, it takes a lot of coordination, and a lot of the mechanics of the grip fighting is similar in boxing, right? So for me to learn not so much the defensive aspect of it, but like the offensive aspect of boxing, it was very helpful, right? The common thing that happens with judo and boxing is that if you're a right-sided judo athlete, you lead with your left leg. You lead with your right leg, okay? So if I'm doing right-sided judo, I'm leading with my right leg, right, with my right hand forward, okay? Now, if you're a right-handed boxer, you punch with your right, which means you take the opposite stance. So there's sort of a disconnect there, right? I'm right-handed naturally, but I do right-sided judo, and I box as a southpaw, okay? So my grappling and my striking all come from the same stance, right? Leading with my right leg, so I could strike from this position and do judo from this position, and I could wrestle from this position, right? So they're all integrated together. So I don't have to take that extra punch to the extra step in order to maximize my other elements of my, you know, fighting. All right. You'll need to go into your YouTube creator studio. When you turn it on, give us the fans the opportunity to donate to your channel with a super chat. Thank you for letting me know that. Maybe for the next time, but I don't want to screw with the settings because then they might kick me off. I don't know. I'll figure it out one day. Thank you, though. Thank you. All right, what level, who, with what degree is making these decisions on judo as a sport form or able to influence global judoka? Great question. It's very bureaucratic, even in the United States, right? Kukushibudo is part of Hudson Judo, which is sort of a subsidiary sort of thing for the United States Judo Federation. And at each of those levels, there's board members and committee members and all these different things. It's highly organized, it's highly bureaucratic, and it's very political. It goes all the way up to IJF, International Judo Federation, and even those guys have a Pan American Judo Union, a European Judo Union, and it's this whole involved process. So all those guys get together and make these decisions, I feel like. So, you know, I think decisions get made sort of slow, and, you know, it's not ideal, I think. You know, especially in the United States, we have 3 different governing organizations in judo: USJA, JF, JI. I know it gets really confusing. I think that's an issue also, but that's for another day. Yeah, IJF, International Judo Federation. I think Visor came in a couple of years ago, maybe like a decade ago, and he kind of changed the game a little bit. He was very aggressive about, you know, turning judo into this more, I don't want to say commercial, but more on the mainstream, right? So he followed suit with like the similar organizational structure with tennis, like world tennis, with the World Cups and the Grand Slams and the Grand Prix, and then the Olympic point structure that the tennis follows. And I think that he did a very good job with that. And he's a very powerful guy. He's a very successful guy. And, you know, he was able to get a lot of stuff done. So, you know, I'm very grateful for that. There's a lot of other stuff behind, you know, that, but I'm not going to get into that too much. All right, Luca. What's up, everyone? Brown belt with dirty gi here. Yes, that's Luca Guladani. He's the guy with the dirty gi, but, you know, that means that he trains hard. He trains hard, and so should you. Okay, not crazy hard, but smart hard, right? Good seeing you. I missed training with you, Luca. Hopefully I train with you soon. Thank you for the posts and chat. Awesome stream. Thank you. More casual clothing techniques. Thank you. Maybe if my baby mama agrees, What are your thoughts on Karo Parisian? You know, I used to see Karo at these judo tournaments, and he was always great, right? Because I was on my way into the national circuit, and he was sort of on his way out. He's a couple years older than me. So I remember watching him from the sidelines do judo, and I was always like, wow, that guy's pretty good. And then when he entered UFC, it was incredible to see someone execute some of these judo techniques in that setting. And yeah, I think he has great technique, you know, and it was a young sport back then, UFC. So, you know, you can't gauge it against something that you see currently now when these super athletes, the super freaks, and the, you know, very, very high level. MMA's evolved a lot. What age did you start judo? Like 3. I was a young little baby. Will you ever make a Kani Basani video and a no-gi judo video? I've been doing some no-gi stuff. Kani Basami, you know, not a big fan of it. I mean, it's a very effective technique, but a very dangerous technique. And it's not something that I do on the regular. You know, and I understand there's a slew of things about Kani Basami that is just absolutely incredible and useful. For instance, if you do Kani Basami and you post your hand on the mat, if you dive in for the person's legs, right, and if you're not quite deep enough, you could use that hand to push yourself to scissor those legs and take the person down, right? So you get an extra couple inches of reach, maybe even like a foot of extra reach by pushing yourself into the technique in like a sliding attack manner. I find that really cool. And the ability to transition into leg locks from that position once you hit the ground, I think that's very cool too and useful. But just the risk reward for me is not there, right? For me to teach it and then for some people to get injured, it's just not really worth it. And there's plenty of other techniques that are useful without taking that risk. So I don't really bother with it too much, right? I'm sure that's not popular opinion, but Joseph Press, have you ever tried to compete in Jiu-Jitsu, BJJ? I did one tournament. It was, they put me in the advanced division. It was, you know, I did really well. I threw the person really hard, and then I was able to submit them. Yeah, I won it. Do I want to keep doing it? I don't know. You know, I'm 35 now, so I'm a little bit older. Knee hurts, shoulder hurts, and I did a lot of judo. And, you know, when you do judo at a competitive level that's pretty high, and then you retire, it's hard to get back in it because you're not going to be able to train at the capacity that you used to train. Now with me getting an MBA, having a daughter, and running 2 schools, it's really not about me anymore. It's more about my students, and I try to help those guys out. And if I'm in the dojo just training for those 3 hours that I'm there, then, you know, my students aren't really getting better. And I think it's kind of unfair to them. And I know it's one of my major excuses, you know, to blame my students for the fact that I'm not competing. And it's probably not fair to those guys. But I kind of don't want to also at this point. You know, I've done so much in competitive martial arts and judo and wrestling. And I wrestled high school and college, hundreds of matches, hundreds and hundreds of matches. So I don't know, maybe. We'll see. All right, Nogi Judo DVD. All right, I'm gonna have to give Bernardo a call. We'll see how that goes. Can't see a thing. Best wishes for all of you from Puerto Rico. Yeah, I hope the video stream is working. I would assume so, right? I mean, people can see me, right? You guys can see me? Yeah? Just gonna assume that you guys can see me. All right, what is your opinion on the judo strikes being removed to make judo more like a sport? I mean, that's just, yes, you are visible. Thank you. Thank you for responding. Judo strikes being removed. I mean, if there were strikes in judo, it really wouldn't be judo. I mean, combat judo, combat sambo versus sports sambo, that's sort of a similar concept where combat sambo, you could strike. You know, there's no judo equivalent to that. But, you know, yeah, it just wouldn't be a thing. Kazushi Sakuraba. I thought he was very interesting. I grew up watching Pride, and I thought he was inspirational. His udigarami from when the person's on the back, it's a very classic Japanese pro wrestling heavy move. I think he used to hit that so beautifully, and I still try to hit that, you know, every now and then when the person has their arm around my waist and I'm trying to steer clear and then take the elbow over the elbow, turn in and go for that. It's a nice technique. Lucian, just wanted to say hi. Love your content. Thank you very much for watching. Brian Nguyen, given the de-emphasis of takedown in today's sport BJJ, how many schools start with the butt scoot? Do you think it's still worthwhile to learn judo if you're a BJJ practitioner? I said this earlier, learn tomonage and sumi. Learn tomonage and sumi. First point of contact, the person tries to pull guard, kochi ochi, right into knee cut pass. First point of contact, snap the person down, two hands on, sumi, tomonage, transition to newaza. If they resist backwards, go kochi ochi, backwards technique. And work on those four corners, right? Kochi, ochi, sumi, tomonage. Now you have four corners off that one point of contact. If they pull guard, you could do something. If they come into you, could do something. Go with that sort of thing, right? And I'm pretty sure that's the path that everyone's sort of going. You know, people do judo, and that's the problem too, right? Jiu-jitsu guy comes into a judo school and says, hey, I want to learn stand-up. And the judo guy goes, okay, let me show you how to do an osotogari stand-up. Okay, right side versus right side. No, don't stand like this. Stand upright. I'm going to show you traditional classic osotogari. And the jiu-jitsu guy is saying, hey, that's not useful for me. You know, I either pull guard or the other person pulls guard. Everyone starts out like this. He goes, no, but you got to learn osoto like this. I don't think that's helpful. And I don't think it helps promote the sport to work together, right? If you're a BJJ practitioner and you want to learn some judo, learn sumigesh, learn tomonage, learn kochi, learn ochi. Sounded pretty angry. I'm not angry. I don't know why I'm yelling. I'm not good at English, but the explanation is easy to understand. I'm studying the techniques. Thank you. Great. In your opinion, which college has the best judo in the U.S.? I mean, San Jose, you know, produced Colton Brown and Marty Malloy and Jose Ben Cosme. So, yeah, I would say, like, San Jose does a good job. San Jose does a good job. All right, what's a good mentality for Randori? Should we be going all out every match in training? Absolutely not. It really depends on who you're going with, what your goals are for the practice, right? If I'm going in there and if I go hard every single round, if I do 10 rounds and if I go hard 10 rounds, either I'm going to hurt myself or someone's going to get hurt. And it's not going to be beneficial to me or my partners, right? The reality of it is, if I'm going against someone that's a little bit less skilled than I am, I have to sort of handicap myself and try to develop things that I'm not so good at, right? I'm pretty heavy. I'm like 230 right now. So yes, I could put my hands on and weigh the person down and throw them. It's not going to be helpful. So for me to be light on my hands, light on my feet, give up some positions and fight out of that and attack the feet and go for sacrifice throws and all this stuff, maybe that's the sort of thing that I want to develop in one round. If I'm going with someone that's like a green belt, I want to be able to do judo green belt +1 so they can benefit from it. And maybe I handicap myself and say, I want to throw this guy with Sasai and only Sasai. So I fake Osoto and I go Sasai. I snap the person, go Sasai. I try to set up Sasai, Sasai, Sasai. So I'm working on something. I'm actively working on something, but I'm just not beating on him the whole time because that's not going to help him and that's not going to help me, right? So now you have two different examples. Now, third round, I'm going against someone. I outweigh them by 60 pounds, which I constantly do because I'm so fat and heavy right now. If I'm outweighing somebody, I don't want to use my weight. I want to use my movement. I want to use my hand position, all this stuff. Maybe the next round, I want to use my one-handed judo. Maybe the next round, you know, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. If I'm going hard every single round, it's really not going to be beneficial. And the risk of injury goes like this. And that's easier said than done because in order to do judo soft, it's very, very difficult, right? Because it's such a dynamic sport. All right. So I love Sakuraba. He's great. I've been doing kettlebells. Awesome. Mosquito Ippon. There's a lot of mosquitoes down here. I don't know why. Drive me nuts. Luca, Peter. Try using Raid for mosquito, or are you talking about a Raid Zero drive? I don't know. Started training judo in November. I don't know how much, but I'm sort of getting somewhere. As a beginner, what should I be focusing on the most? As a beginner, the most important thing is coachability. And I don't want to say likability But if the people like you in the dojo, this is something I see time and time again. You walk into the dojo on your first day and people say, hey, go like this or do like that. And you're a white belt, you say, I know. Or I saw on YouTube that to do it like this. Immediately, you brand yourself as the guy that people don't want to work with. And that's a huge problem because if you don't have good partners to train with, you're not going to get better. So be likable, be coachable, be humble. Those are very important things. And don't be trying to get competitive with the people who have done it for a very long time. Because you as a white belt coming in as a beginner, for you to try to compete against an intermediate athlete, that's almost always going to be a losing game, right? For your goal when you're doing live is to learn and ask humbly for the people who are in a better position, who are in a more advanced positions, to guide you. Let them be your guide. You never want to go in and say, hey, I'm competing against you. I'm trying to beat you. I'm trying to choke you with what I just learned, right? Because that's going to be a recipe for disaster. And I was on that same grind for many years, and maybe I don't remember what it's like being a white belt, but I remember feeling like a white belt when I would go train at Kukushkan University when I was in high school or when I was in college, and I would just get the shit kicked out of me. And it was a very humbling experience. And, yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. And sometimes you just got to be coachable. You just got to be coachable, and you have to be humble, and you have to almost look at it like a guide, like the people who are above you are sort of a guide, and, have your trust in them. All right. I think I got a little bit. Mosquito. All right, Brand. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the judo community. You're very welcome. I hope to keep doing it. I started watching your videos as a white belt, and now I've become an assistant instructor in my dojo. That makes me very happy. Be a good coach, and it's easier to say, but really always think of new ways to make your own judo and to make your own system, and don't just follow blindly the way things have been done pedagogically, because you just got to build your own, and even with something as judo, as systemized and as unified as it is, there's always room for evolving. Isaiah, if you're in a high stakes match and you can only do one throw as many times as you want, and if transition to Newaza only one submission or one strangle, what do you pick? I'm just going to go ahead and say Tomoe into armbar. I'll just spam Tomoe, spam armbar. If you spam Tomoe, the person can't throw you. And every time you miss Tomoe, the person's in your guard, then you can go for an armbar, right? I know that's a very interesting question, and that's probably very uncommon, unpopular opinion. I've said a lot of unpopular stuff, but yeah, that would be my spamming technique. If you spam drop Sanagi, you give up your back every time, so I'm not a big fan of that. All right, thinking of starting a judo at 51. Did Wado Ryu for 8 years prior and developed a taste for takedowns because I've got some jiu-jitsu elements to it. Dave Casina. Yeah, go for it, man. Find a good school. Find a teacher that cares about you and is passionate about your safety. That's first and foremost, because martial arts should be about self-improvement. And if it's about ego, and if it's about them, and then training you to be this, and then all this stuff, then you don't want to be there. All right, so find someone that cares about you and then cares about safety. That's always first and foremost, right? God bless you. Hope you find a great school. White Girl Slayer. Oh, all right. That's an interesting screen name. Is there a major difference in quality between Fuji gis and Mizuno gis? Interesting question. Mizuno gis are made either in Japan, China, or Pakistan. The one that comes straight from Japan with the Japan logo on it, those are of incredible high quality. I'm not saying the Pakistani or the Chinese ones are not, but they're priced differently. If you buy the super high-end Japanese Mizuno judo gis, they're going to cost you a pretty penny. It's going to be like $300. Fuji, they, I think, make all their gis in Pakistan, in China. But I think the value of the Fuji gi is unparalleled. It's a great product. It's a great company. I love Leah Tasha. She's awesome. I've known her since I was a little kid. And difference in quality? I mean, what are you trying to go for? You know, if you're trying to compete on the international circuit, you need that red label IJF mark on there. You need to buy yourself a Mizuno gi. But if that doesn't matter, if you're just looking to buy a regular gi to just train in, that's amazing, well-rounded, and great value, then go for Fuji. All right, depends on the thickness of the gi or the tree. All right, Luca. Tomo, good to see you, Tomo. Hope you're doing well. I miss you. Miss training with you. You're the best. Tomo's the man. Tomo, man, that kid is just, whew. Tomo is, I've known Tomo since he was like 5 or 6 years old, and he's like a 13, 14-year-old savage now. You know, and he's been put through the ringer, man. I'm telling you, he broke his arm, you know, popped his collarbone recently, but he keeps getting back up. He's like the epitome of the guy that gets back up and right back in your face and then just putting it back in there and then just going after it, man. That guy is the man. Kids like that inspire me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. All right. What do you think about people who wear short gi sleeves in competition? I mean, they sort of regulate it now, right? They say you can't wear certain gis, how many inches beyond the wrist, and they have a measuring tool, and they measure the thickness of the sleeve. I think it's a little bit, you know, sneaky, but people do anything and everything to gain an advantage. But yeah, you can't really get too pissed off about, you know, that's my biggest thing too when you're in competition and people get so angry about the referees robbing you or giving you the wrong call. And, you know, if you can't control it, you know, why let it bother you and make you go crazy? You know, I can't control the length of the gi that you wear. Right, of course it's frustrating and annoying, but, you know, what are you going to do? All right, sorry for asking a lot. It's okay. It's okay. That's what I'm here for. But what are your thoughts on John Danaher? I think he's a very well-spoken guy, and I think he's one of those dudes who, you know, operated on another level, right? People were just going for certain things in jiu-jitsu. He was a thought leader, and, you know, it shows, right? His athletes are great, and, you know, his technique's unbelievable, you know? So there's some people who are just like that, you know? And, yeah, I think he has good technique. I think he's a good grappler. I think he's a great teacher. All right, how much crossover do you find with Tomiki Aikido? Let's see here. Did I just lose my place again? God damn it. How much crossover do you find with Tomiki Sensei's Aikido and Nogi grip fighting? Aikido and Judo are very, 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 very different. Similar concept. Concept. You could almost put it like, I know people are, you know, have their opinions about Aikido, but Tomiki Aikido and Judo was similar sort of origins because Tomiki was a Judo guy, right? And the way he put it was Judo's here gripped up and Aikido is Judo arm's length away. And I think Aikido, people misunderstood Aikido, and I think it kind of went this completely crazy route, and it was misinterpreted, and people looked too deep into it, and then spun it in too many different ways, and now it's this, you know, people look at it a certain way. I just think it's misunderstood, you know, and there's a place for it. You know, you're older, you like martial arts, and you want to do these techniques in a philosophical way, as opposed to like, oh man, I'm gonna fucking learn Aikido in 2 months and then go try it on the street. Oh, it didn't work. You know, that's not what it's there for though. Okay, don't get that confused. And people who are doing these demonstrations who give their lives to Aikido, you shouldn't shit on them just because their techniques don't work on the street, right? There's lots of stuff like that you know, sort of drives me a little bit crazy, and I have strong opinions about this stuff. But in terms of crossover with Aikido and Nogi grip fighting, not so much. But I mean, similar origin, similar concept. Hope that answers something for you. All right, hello from Nova Scotia. When do you introduce kata to your students? When they get their black belt test. No Randori, Luca, yeah, you were definitely not doing Randori for at least 2 months, right? Maybe hold the adults by the back of their judo gis. I would love to do that. If I was 6'5", I would 100% do that, right? It's like Luca versus Peter. All right, Luca, come here and Peter like this, you know? Love to do that. All right. People are asking Luca. Yeah, ask him away, man. He's a Georgian. Luca is Georgian. He's a freak athlete, man. This kid came in at 18 years old. He's like, I want to learn judo. And I'm like, okay, I'll teach you judo. And he came every single practice. And when he wasn't there at the dojo, he was lifting weights. And he's one of those guys that's just like I met and he's just skyrocketing, right? Just getting better every day. Every time I see him, he just gets better. He's just a savage in every way. He's going to get good, and I always tell Luca this, and, probably sick of me hearing, but you got to stay healthy, man. Can't get injured. You got to protect your body. If you're doing reckless judo, you're going to get injured, and, a couple bad injuries, judo's done. No more judo. You tear your shoulder, you tear your knee repeatedly, and now all of a sudden you were in contention. You could have been great, but now no one knows, right? So you don't want to be that guy. You want to learn high intellect, cerebral, intellectual judo, right? You don't want to just go out there, put two hands on and start going for stuff. And I think that's a little bit more primitive now, and it's evolving. So very important to remember. All right, Tomo, Peter, Luca, all these guys. Mark, what's up, Mark? Thank you for the light. That's why the lighting's so great in here. You guys could thank Mark for that. He donated a light so I could look so pretty on the camera. Thank you. Let's see. Ezra, you a bouncer? Yes, I was the smallest bouncer in New York City for a little while. I was in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And I used to bounce for a little while, and I was in my early 20s, and it was a really fun time. Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time. Good time. All right, what would your go-to technique in a bar fight be? Okay, it depends on the scenario, right? How close in proximity. That's the beauty of being in a bar fight. Actually, there's no beauty in being in a bar fight, but there's so much proximity, right? And a lot of the times these guys who want to start, like, you want to go, and they put their chest up to your chest, and they put their face into your face, and that's just great time for me to, it's really ideal. You don't really want to create too much space if you're a judoka, because you don't want to get punched in the face. You want to close the distance as much as possible, right? And here's a little martial arts tip for you. If you want to close the distance, you don't want to keep your hands down. You keep your hands up here like this, and you say, yeah, you talk like this. So at least you have one hand in between here, up by your face. And then once they get into your face, you could just clip the back of their head and then take it from there. All right. Thank you for the Newaza answer. You're very welcome. Love the channel. Glad you're doing well. Can't wait to get back to your class. Can't wait to see you. Kenneth, you're the man. Are you going to do a Zoom workout for Kano? Maybe. I'm so against Zoom classes for some reason. It's probably because I'm taking the MBA on Zoom now, and I'm just so, I just hate it so much. Maybe one day. All right, Jean LaBelle says that joint locks do not work on people who are drunk because they do not feel pain as much as when they are sober. He advises choke strangles if one has to do something. Would you agree? I mean, it depends on how drunk they are. What have they been drinking, right? If you had 3 beers and you're sort of loopy and, you've never been, had your elbow cranked on, then of course it's going to hurt them, right? Choke strangle, I just never really advocate choking someone in a bar. Someone that's not skilled, that's never done any of these martial arts, you're just going to choke them and strangle them. They're going to piss themselves, right? And, there's some liability stuff that's very severe. You've done judo for 8 years and you follow Shintaro on YouTube and, you choke someone in a bar, that causes you a lot of problems. So I don't really advocate any of that. But I don't know, choke, strangles, arm bars, restricting their movement is very important because flailing arms has the potential of clocking you, right? Restricting movement, first and foremost. Eugene, what's up? That's my cousin. Love Eugene. Michael Hoffman, what are your thoughts on the evolution of sport judo? Is there any rules you would want added, removed? Yes, I would love to see judo sort of change their newaza. I would love to see judo newaza evolve a little bit more. I would like to see certain positions rewarded, certain positions penalized, just because I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. I'm not saying let newaza go, and I'm not going against the current rule set of like, if there's no forward progression on the ground for 5 seconds, stand them back up to their feet. And that's sort of my interpretation of newaza as it is. But anytime there's sort of a gridlock, they put you back right up to your feet, and there's no progression, and the beauty of newaza sort of gets lost in that. So I'd love to see them do something about that, to change that a little bit, because I think there's a lot there. and I think we could learn a lot more and do a lot more there. So yeah, I would like to see that, and maybe leg grabs, like I said, um, yeah, the evolution of the sport of judo. I watch it, not that much, but I watch it, and it's pretty great. I think they're doing, the best they can to push judo forth, and I think they're doing a great job based on, I guess if you look at their balance sheet or something, it's doing a lot better than what it was. So, God bless them. All right, ACL knee surgery repair, meniscus bit damage, how to get into judo without, again, injuring. Any knee exercise to do some bodyweight squats. There's some excellent tutorials on YouTube, how to bulletproof your knees. I'm not a physical therapist. You talk to Eugene. It's very, very taxing on the ACLs for judo. So, find a good school, find a good teacher, tell them about your injuries and limitations. Don't be shy. Hello from France. How are you? Who's your favorite MMA fighter? That's a good question. That's a good question. Who is, I love Khabib, because he's such a humble guy and he does judo. So I'm biased there. And, he said something in one of his interviews like, yeah, I love wrestling, but judo is just class. Judo is so classy and it's beautiful. And, I agree with him, and people, when they think MMA and sport and martial art, they think like, how can this be used in a fight? What are the applications in a martial setting? Is this good for punching someone or self-defense or whatever it is? I think that's the wrong mentality, right? You have to take judo and martial arts as a tool for self-improvement. And I think that's really the most important aspect of it. What you can learn from it, how you can improve yourself from it. Being in a very confrontational, non-cooperative place where there's actual grappling, where the person has goals to injure you, right? Or take you down against your body's will. It's going to open up lots of opportunities for you to learn, and I think that's a great thing. And, I don't know how I got on that tangent, but MMA fighter Khabib, I like Khabib. Big fan. You're younger than me. Yes, I am. 35. Can I learn judo even I'm 23? You can always learn judo. That's the most important thing, right? You just have to find a good teacher that cares about your safety. Always learn judo. Mark, hey bud, what's the number one thing to build the popularity of judo? Seems like BJJ has exploded in the last 10 years. I think, my theory is, this is a great time to talk about exponential growth because exponential growth is such a difficult concept to wrap your mind around, but because of COVID, we now have sort of an idea what this sort of thing means. One person gets infected, 5 people get infected, then each one of those 5 people will infect another 5 people, and then the thing goes like this, right? Same idea. Jiu-jitsu, the risk of injury is a lot lower. Learning curve, a lot different than judo, right? So the person does BJJ, they love it. They bring 5 of their friends in, they love it. They stick around for a year. Each one of those guys brings in 5 people, 1, 5, 25, 100, whatever. You get tons of people doing jiu-jitsu. Judo, you get that one guy coming into the dojo, learning a sotogari, goes for a sotogari, someone chomps at the knee, hurts their ACL. That person's not bringing anyone into the sport, right? So I think that's a problem, the way judo's taught. The risk of injury is so high, it hinders the growth. I think it's taught in the wrong way. If you're coming in and the person's like, this is Ippon Seinagi, this is Taitoshi, this is Harai, this is Ochi, this is Kochi, this is... not going to work. These are 10 techniques that you should know. These are 10 techniques that you should know. Okay, go do it on each other. Someone's going to get hurt. And if someone gets hurt, those people are not bringing in their friends. And then naturally, if you were doing jiu-jitsu, it's like, how's that thing you're doing with the uniform and the pajamas and the karate thing you're doing? It's like, nah, it's not karate, it's jiu-jitsu. It's awesome. I go to the thing, why don't you come with me? Oh, I fucking learn some arm bars and stuff, right? But, in judo, it's like, how's that karate thing you're doing? Oh, judo? I went in there, I dislocated my knee, and now I'm done. Never going back, right? So that is the problem with judo. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. Okay. All right, so that's the problem with judo, and I think that really hinders the growth of judo. The injury rate, and then the learning curve, right? And I think it's on the responsibility of us, the judo instructors, to manage both of those levers and to help judo grow, right? These goddamn mosquitoes are all over the place. All right, I'm gonna do like 15 more minutes and then we'll call it a night. All right, what are reasonable goals for younger students who are training on their own for their first time? Have some physical fitness goals right now. You know, push-ups, squats. If you're running a mile, something measurable, right? If you could run a 10-minute mile, I'm gonna try to run a 9-minute mile. If you could do that, I'm gonna run an 8-minute mile. So you're constantly progressing, right? Progressive overload. When you're weight training and using your body, you just wanna constantly be improving, right? If you're thinking about judo, you know, I don't like the mentality of belt. Like I want to qualify for this belt, that belt. You want to train in a way where you're trying to grow and learn, and then the color of your belt changes as a result of the side effect of you learning the judo, okay? And I know it's coming from someone that was, you know, very belt driven, and I have a belt that's pretty high, and I know that might make me look like a hypocrite, but don't focus too much on the belt, and then you are a good student that is coachable. The instructor will recognize you and they will reward you, right? With the right, they will reward you, right? So anyway, you are visible, looking good, Shin. Man, there's so many questions. All right, I might just, good advice. Sumi saved me a lot against BJJ, against single leg, but Sasai is great technique with high grip. Yes, it is, Nico. Nico Contreras, man. You've been commenting and watching since day one. Thank you. Thank you. You've been interacting with my stuff. I've never met you in real life, but hopefully one day we'll meet. Maybe at a judo tournament or something, or maybe in a bar. And thank you. Thank you for always watching and supporting. It means a lot to me. All right, what do you think about Aikido? Is it helpful for street fight, or what do you think is a worthless sport? It's not worthless. You know, this is the thing. You know, I don't know who you are, but maybe, let's just say you're 65 years old, you have double knee surgery, you can't really move, but you want to do some sort of martial art, right? And you're a deep philosophical guy, and you like thinking about martial arts, and you like the ideas behind balance and movement, then yeah, Aikido is good for that. You know, Aikido is good for that. And it can be used for young people. You know, and there's some wrist locks in there, some takedowns in there. You know, you're 18 years old, okay. Are you very strong, young, and athletic, and then you want to learn how to get into street fights? Then, you know, I wouldn't pick Aikido. You know, if you're looking to just learn how to just purely fight, you know, you heard it in here before, do MMA, you know. But the practice jiu-jitsu, want to practice judo. Should I compete in judo or BJJ tournaments? Judo tournament rate of injuries, risk of injury is really high, right? And I never try to say compete, and even my guys who are very good, I don't not that I don't encourage it, but I don't push it. You know, I never push it. You have to want to do the competitions yourself. And I think people try to do competitions for the wrong reasons and end up hurting themselves, right? So what is your background besides judo? What about self-defense? Yeah, I'll get to that. So yeah, Aikido, there's a place for Aikido, there's a place for MMA, there's a place for judo, there's a place for all of that. Okay, moving on. Hello, this is a judoka from Japan. Hello. You should do an AMA on Reddit. I should. Yeah, but it's just like at Reddit, it's like I gotta type all this. You know, my fingers get tired. All right, let's see. Goddamn mosquitoes. You are welcome. I fell out of judo as a teenager because of an injury. What is your advice on preventing injuries, particularly knee injuries? See, there's so many knee injuries because we have not yet banned Tani Otoshi. And people are teaching Osotogari to beginners who are chopping at the side of the knee, and they don't take into consideration position, dominant position, grip fighting, winning position, attacking, tactics, to use Osotogari in the proper manner. It's not a chopping, hacking movement, right? Tani Otoshi should be banned. So many knee injuries in judo, right? It cannot go on this way. We need to do something about it, right? We have a very strong community to be outspoken. If Tani Otoshi is not banned in your dojo, you should speak to your instructor, okay? And then tell them to call me, because I probably know them. And they probably sick and tired of hearing it from me. Every one of these judo meetings that I go to in the Hudson Judos, I'm like, Tanya Toshi should be banned in all dojos. Why are we teaching Osotogari first to these beginners? And people are like, oh man, this guy's got to go. And people are probably sick and tired of hearing from me. Tayatoshi is safer than Tanya Toshi. Tayatoshi is dangerous too, because your leg is outstretched in front of them, and if the person brings their weight down into that knee, your ankle knee is gone. I've seen tons of people essentially lose a leg like that. So it's very dangerous, and it all comes down to hand positioning first. Hand positioning, dominant position. Well, anytime you're attacking from a bad position, you expose yourself to risk. You expose yourself to risk of getting injured, especially Tayatoshi, because your leg is stuck out in front of them, right? So, yeah, you gotta be careful. All right, most fights, people want distance. In judo, you want to be close. That's right, you want to be close in judo. What are some of your favorite MMA fighters of all time? Please say GSP. GSP is cool. I like him, you know. I really like Khabib. I don't really watch that much MMA. You know, I don't really watch that much judo either, actually. I don't watch sports, period. You know, it's like, oh, guys, Super Bowl, this and that, and the NFL playoff. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I wish I got into it a little bit more, but, you know, and I'll watch it, but if I'm flipping through the channels and then it's there, I'll watch it. If I missed Georgie's question? No. All right, George, where's George? Oh, yes, there we go. A wise Indian martial artist and fashion model once told me to leave the dojo fascinated, not frustrated. Can you talk about cultivating a growth mindset towards judo when getting smoked regularly? I gotta tell you, George is one of my favorite people, man. He is such a student of the sport, and he has this growth mindset constantly, right? And he gets frustrated. So I tell him, get fascinated. And there is an Indian god at the dojo who we all worship. He's a hilarious guy. Maybe he's watching. His name is Andy. Sometimes he goes by the name Randy. If you're from the dojo, you'll probably know who I'm talking about. But yeah, get fascinated, not frustrated, right? I don't want to get too much on the inside jokes. No one's going to know what we're talking about. Let's see, Sam Santos. I missed that question too. Hey, Shintaro, I'm probably late to the party, but what stand-up techniques should you master so on the fly you can use on the street? Blast double, hip toss, both very good techniques. Blast double is amazing. Hip tosses are always good. You know, Koshiguruma's nice. Osotogari is always good. But learning position is huge, right? Always. Fighting for position, learning how to restrict someone's movement so they don't flail around and you control their body so you can take them down, right? All right, let's see. 6 more minutes. Hey, Shintaro, busy night here. I got to feed the fam. Just wanted to thank you for everything you do, sir. Hope everything is well. Thank you for tuning in. Kind of random. What are your opinions on 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu? I think Eddie Bravo did an incredible job with his rubber guard system. He's another guy that's sort of a thought, leader, I guess, in certain aspects of that sport. And his whole entire thing was like, all right, jiu-jitsu with the gi is stupid. I want to do no gi stuff because no one's wearing a gi on the street. And my entire jiu-jitsu system is based around one-to-one fighting. Like 1-versus-1 fighting. That's his entire reasoning behind his entire system of Newaza. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool that he did that, and then that people are learning this system, and he completely renamed every technique that he does, and techniques that's been in wrestling, techniques that's done in jiu-jitsu, techniques in judo. He just came up with all new names for everything. So it's almost that he built this own language of his, and I think that's pretty interesting, and I don't really know him personally, but I think it's pretty fascinating what he did, agree with some of his opinions on stuff that's not jiu-jitsu related. No, but, God bless him. God bless him. All right, could he make judo about sambo, showing us how to utilize it in judo? I mean, I'm not really a sambo guy, maybe. I have a couple videos out there with sambo moves, so yeah, maybe one of these days. Good analysis of judo and the problems of learning curves and injuries. Thank you very much, right? It's a huge problem in judo. We got to change that, right? We could do it as a community. Can sprinting increase speed and power in judo? I'm a big believer that yes, high intensity interval training is one of the most important things that you could do because judo is a fast twitch 2A, fast twitch 2A or 2B. It's a fast twitch sport, right? You need fast twitch muscle fibers in order to do judo successfully. And sprinting helps you develop that, so yes. All right. Man, there's so many questions. I love it. Thank you so much for this. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for being here. How do you get authority with puberty kids in judo? Authority. I don't know what that means. If I practice jiu-jitsu and want to practice judo, should I compete in judo or jiu-jitsu tournaments? Might as well just do both, right? What is your martial arts background besides judo? What about self-defense? Any thoughts on the forbidden technique, leg locks, the temi strikes, pretty much forgotten out of judo? I've done all the martial arts, man. I've done Japanese jiu-jitsu, I've done Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I've done judo, karate, aikido. I've done Muay Thai with Joe Sampieri. I boxed for a little while. I wrestled in college. I've done a lot of it, and I love a lot of it. Judo just happens to be my favorite. No, not a fan of striking punches and kicks. Finally, any thoughts on catch jiu-jitsu, combative, street jiu-jitsu on BJJ fanatics? Sorry at the plug. No, I mean, catch jiu-jitsu is great. Combatives and street jiu-jitsu, good, you know. I think people get too focused on which martial art, this and that. But picture LeBron James, okay? He dedicated his entire life with the body that he has and the genetics that he has to doing Taekwondo. Can you imagine that guy full throttle kicking you in the head? Right? I mean, do jiu-jitsu for a couple months, do sambo for a couple of years. It's probably not going to help you, right? So it really does come down to the individual athlete. And I think that's one of my theories in doing martial arts as a martial art is about self-improvement, right? Being as strong as you can, as fast as you can, learning the most about yourself, learning as much as you can, right? That's applicable within the limitations that you may have, right? So I think that's very important. Catch jiu-jitsu, yeah, great stuff, man. All this stuff is great, you know. All martial arts are great. I think the problem arises when people who are at the top try to give a false sense of security and hope and saying this is the only thing that you need, you know, to defend yourself. Put it this way, man. I went one time to a Krav Maga school, you know, just peeked in there and I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's going on in here? Just peeking around. And I just kind of wanted to, actually, I just heard one of my friends was teaching at that school. So I wanted to say hi. I walked in there and this little guy comes out and goes, hey, what can I do for you? Are you interested in martial arts? And I was like, yeah, maybe. You know, I came here to see. And he cut me off completely. And he's like, oh, man, you got to do Krav Maga. It's the best. Like, do you do any martial arts? And then he was so overwhelming. I just kind of said no because I didn't want to get into it. I'm like, nah, not really. I just lift a lot of weight. That's why I'm so big, you know? And he goes, well, Krav Maga is the one for you. Krav Maga is the only martial art I can learn. You can learn to defend yourself and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and I said, what about judo? And he goes, judo doesn't work. Jiu-jitsu doesn't work. Sambo doesn't work. None of that stuff works. Krav Maga is the only martial art that can help you learn how to self-defend yourself. Man, I was so offended. I was offended. You know, when you're doing martial arts, you shouldn't have to put down other martial arts to make your own, you know, look good and elevate yourself by putting others down. I think that just goes against the philosophy of martial arts, period. Right? You have to keep an open mind with this stuff. And I'm I feel very strongly about it. And I will never forget that little guy. I would love to kick the shit out of him one day. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, I left with a bad taste in my mouth. And I was like, no, thank you. And he's like, hey, man, if you sign up now, you get this free $19.99 package and a free trial class and a free this and that. And I'm like, get out of my face, man. And it was just such a negative experience. You know, I really just wanted to say hi to my friend. You know what I mean? Anyway, getting pissed. All right. You're the man, single-handedly brought me into the world of judo. God bless you. God bless you, man. You brought yourself into judo. All right. Tanya Toshi, covered that. Okay, let's see. Let's go scroll all the way down here. Should have launched that Krav Maga guy. I should have, but he's tiny. I outweighed him by 100 pounds, so I don't want to. All right, hey Shintaro, greetings from Brazil. I really like your channel, especially your concepts of strategy, gripping in advantageous positions. I practice jiu-jitsu. I love grappling in general. Thank you. Do you have a problem with teenagers not listening to their coach? I think that's a tough question to answer. You know, I have plenty of teenagers at the dojo that kind of yay at me, you know, and I try not to rule with an authoritative thing of like, you have to listen to me. And, you know, I try not to be that way. But yeah, you know, teenagers are going to be teenagers, and I was once a teenager, and, you know, it's kind of not really, you know. My teens are pretty good. All right, walked inside a Krav Maga school, and the same thing happened. I felt a very negative experience. I'm doing good business-wise, though, you know. I think Taekwondo is a good one, too. Taekwondo is another one that I have a very strong feeling about. My friend runs a Taekwondo school, and I did a trial class. He was like, Shintaro, just come by. You'll be my guest of honor. Come do a trial class. It'll be so fun. And I did a trial class. And let me tell you, man, it was fun. Kicking the pads, and he was like, yeah, I was doing it alongside like 8 and 9-year-olds too. And he's like, Shintaro, excellent work, buddy. Excellent work. He tapped me on the shoulder, gave me a high five. It was the complete opposite side of the spectrum of the Krav Maga experience. And it was just all sorts of feel good and chanting and yeah, I'm Taekwondo and I'll never give up and the rising sun, this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then the heart of this. And then it was just like, I almost forgot who I was, you know, what I am as a martial artist. I was like, I should freaking sign up for this, man. This is fun, you know? And I think they did something right there, because martial arts should be fun, you know? And fun brings people in, and fun makes people stay. And, you know, maybe the kid that would have gone to a judo school that been yelled at and got slammed and would have quit and never touched martial arts ever again, maybe that kid would have thrived in that community, doing Taekwondo, winning those patches and getting those stripes, feeling good about themselves. And then maybe one day he says, all right, I want to transition into something else. You know, maybe like a grappling sport like judo. You know, maybe now he's a high-kicking, you know, karate-chopping judo guy too. You know, you never know. So there's a place for all this. You know, there's a place for all of it. Yeah, it's an interesting world of martial arts out there. All right. It's been 2 hours. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I know I talked a lot. Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully, you know, I do this again, maybe. I don't know. But thank you very much always, and stay safe. And, yeah, have a good night.